कहते हैं, बुझी को राग कहते हैं, जिसके पास स्किल ना हो उसे हम भाग कहते हैं. Skilling for excellence, perspectives and challenges. Way back in January 2020, the World Economic Forum released a report. I know they released a lot of reports. And this said, the need for skilling will reach a target of 30 billion people. Now, that's very interesting. It also went on to say organizations, governments, and of course people will have to work together to define the skilling needs and skill them for the future of work. We've all been hearing a lot about what's happening in this space for a long time now. Now is the time to help us understand what goes on in organization, especially when you are climbing up that ladder. It's like that hierarchy, right? You start with 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. Now you're aiming for excellence. So what do? We've always heard this. We are fighting tomorrow's war with tools of yesterday. What can organizations do? What are the key challenges that they have? And I know we get a pizza delivery in 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we have 25 minutes within which we'll try to deliver the maximum from a power-packed panel. And मेरे सवालों का जवाब देंगे panel. What we'll do is we'll ask questions in between the questions so that it's easy. Otherwise, towards the end, it's a rush. One simple suggestion. Please tag ETHR Future Skills, tag us, tag your company, tag your friend, and then type it on a Twitter tweet. That's the size of the question that we would prefer. Make it precise and to the point. So here I have a power pack panel. Interesting fact about the two members here. Both of them are HR professionals, but have a background in working and building businesses. Interesting, isn't it? We've always wondered, can HR be that CEO? But starting with being a part of business, these two members bring a lot of power, a lot of experience, and of course, excellence is what they aim for. So we have Premita Singh, CHRO, FinCorp, Hero FinCorp, and Head of CSR. We have Digwanta, Regional Human Resources Director and Head HR, Trinity Life Sciences. And when you have a lady in the panel, everyone says ladies first. But I took a safe bet. I said alphabetically. Coincidentally, last name, first name did not matter. It is Digwanta who will begin the session with his opening remarks. Over to you, Digwanta.
Thanks, Brilliant. After a long time, I'm attending a full house session. Like the pandemic, get this full house sessions make digital, and we are not physically doing that, but this is a brilliant crowd, which particularly today here I have seen, interacted with a lot of you, and particularly felt really, really graceful to be part of this session today. So I just start with a small question. How many of you seen Doordarshan these days? Doordarshan, वो music आता था ना, बड़ा sad सा, ट्यूं करके एक symbol बनता था. Can you raise your hand that how many people seen Doordarshan? Okay, great. So we are not that old, right? So Doordarshan is particularly still going on. So when we talk about building businesses, so in one of my consulting assignment, I got a call from the head of Doordarshan, and they were saying that we want to transform the Doordarshan things, and also can we put up a RFP for us and a proposal. So that point of time, I was start looking in Doordarshan very carefully and how this story is related to this skill thing. So when I was start looking into their content, and they are presenting really nice regional news. And that point of time, the one news was flashed out. In a small village in Maharashtra, there was a school, and a teacher has taken an initiative to make students write with both the hands. You just did some exercise with the hands right now. So the teacher make those students write with both the hands from standard 1. So the time which they took to finish the paper, half of the time, 3 hours paper, they finished within 1.5 hours, like ambidexter. So that's the term they used. So they are skilling from the childhood. That's the way they start orienting their mind to work on multiple things in one space. So in organization today, we are looking for those ambidextrous, like who can solve problems with both the hands. Like it's one hand is working in right, the other hand is working on left, and the output is gone double. So just think like when you are on your childhood, writing your 10th ka paper, and you can write with both the hands, like Three Idiots, people who have seen, I believe, Viru Sahasrabuddhi writing with both the hands, quite famous movie. So with that sense, can we practically build that skill? And that's where that skill, orientation, and your thoughts are coming together. And we as an organization also start building that into the employee's head, like, can we start producing ambidextrous? So that's my open remarks. Brilliant.
Thank you, Digvanta. And it reminds me of Jeevan Sahab in Hindi movies. He says, "Dono haath ghee mein aur sar kadai mein." That's the kind of skill set that we expect, and the business also expects that. Thank you for that, Digvanta. Over to you, Premita, for your opening remarks.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be among all of you. I hope I will be able to share some experiences with you and also gain a lot from you through your questions, challenges, thoughts, and remarks. That'll be my skilling journey, which I'm here to pursue, as perhaps some of you are to pursue your journeys. Hero FinCorp is a very distributed organization. Staff members in Hero FinCorp work across 1,800 cities. We are very diverse. We have many lending products, and therefore, the staff members come from extremely diverse backgrounds. The demographics that we serve is right the common person on the street, the carpenter who wants to buy a bike, the milkman who wants to buy a bike, up to the promoters and the investors who are looking to make investments in large companies and who would want investors making investments in them. So we would also make investments into their companies. So that's the demographic that Hero FinCorp as a business deals in. To deal and address this demographic, the staff at Hero FinCorp also has to be from this varied and diverse background. In my capacity, I have been the custodian of people agenda at the moment. So in my capacity, and my colleague right here, Neha Saxena, who heads the capability building agenda, we together are the custodian of making sure that the skills of our staff members are relevant and remain relevant to take Hero FinCorp to the next level and to keep Hero FinCorp relevant for future. I'm a practitioner. I am not a researcher, not a scholar. I have built a lot of businesses with my team. When I say my team, the leadership team, and of course the HR team. And today I will be here to share whatever experiences I can by looking into the experience that has come over the years. Brilliant.
Thank you so much, Premita. Most of you have been attending this session and you heard panel members speak. One thing that I could take away from that is at least 3 panel members said this 20 years ago, right? I hope some of you paid attention. 20 years ago, 20 saal baad. And there is something, lingering around that 20 years. I don't know what it is. And that's purely a coincidence when I saw someone who we all know. 20 years ago, there was a serial called as CID that came in. And there is Dr. Tarika. She was here in the audience. I don't see her right now. And she is someone who's a model, an actor, and has now turned into an entrepreneur. And I was having a conversation trying to understand what is it that made her get into this business. Specifically, if you look at how celebrities move, they don't get into a business which is of education. And interestingly, we've been hearing about it, normal, the new normal, and people say everything is abnormal. Hindi mein abnormal, but English mein abnormal. So what is it, Premita and Digvanta, you can take a dig at it. Does skilling for excellence really matter? Or is it just about some matter which doesn't matter, but it's mind over matter?
All right. So does skilling really matter? Well, of course, skilling matters. It is mind over matter all the time. And skilling also begins in the mind. There's a famous quote by Martina Navratilova, right? Which many of you would have come across. that the game of tennis is not played between the court where she played. It was between the 6 inches of her mind, right? So yes, mind is always over matter. First, it begins with unlearning and then learning. It is also today we can attach to a lot of things, right? Reimagine, rediscover, reskill, redo a lot of things, re-engineer. So reskilling is something which will remain to stay by way of conversation. However, what I would like to say is that when we think of skilling and skilling that matters, we really have to get down to grassroots, and we have to think in the context of the job that is being done. As HR professionals, we have to make sure that we understand whether there are 300 different job types in the company or there are 400 different job types in the company. And then we have to think of the skilling agenda from that lens. It's a very ardent task. It is actually heavyweight lifting when you apply that context. And that is what we at least attempt to do.
Digwanta?
So I can add 2 cents here, like exactly what my fellow colleagues said. So I believe in India, there are two religions which we follow. One is cricket. The second is movies, like cinema, Hollywood, Bollywood, and all. So in cricket, I believe everybody knows Sachin Tendulkar. I believe in this room who are sitting here, like anybody who don't know Sachin Tendulkar, please raise your hand. Great. So that's the nice one, really. So fortunately, I get a chance to meet with him in one of the airport elevators hota hai, elevators pitch. So I just get a chance for 2 minutes to meet him, and particularly I was a big fan. I was used to play cricket and all. I said sir, I need to ask you questions, and he said go ahead. So during 1996, he was in South Africa, and he was in a bad patch, particularly his batting was not flowing well, and as HR, I always have a tendency ask the pain points, touch those pain questions. Like I said, in 1996, before the World Cup, you're not playing well. You are getting out on certain balls, which is your scoring areas. So he said yes, that's very true. So I have a skill to play the off drive, who used to play cricket, they are mastering on it. And Sachin is one of the best player of off drive, playing the offside balls very, very fluently. So he said I used to do it. But that point of time, somewhere I'm not able to connect the ball and I'm get caught out a lot of times. And then I realized that I need to go back to my coach, Archarekar sir, and then said okay, how I can rectify that. So that's basically again, rescaling your known skills, learn something new. So he said leave those balls. So the solution which his coach suggested, at least leave those balls for 50, 60 times. Even you attempt to do that, don't do that. So that skill he's trying to learn. And as a HR professional, we always see our employees, our team, something which you feel I'm great about it. Excel, matter of 2 minutes. Something which I can do it in 30 seconds. Sometimes you see that the environment is not supporting. You are getting caught off on something. You need to rescale that. You need to learn. You have to go back to the basic, discuss with your coach, mentor, whosoever is your closest counterpart, and start to get that new skill, adapt into your DNA, and learn that how to play the game and successful. So that's what particularly the point which I would like to bring it here, as my fellow colleague also said, that rescaling and scaling, both the things are particularly very important in your life when you grow as a professional, as an individual.
Thank you. And one word that I caught from Digwanta is he was a fan, which means priorities changes, liking changes, and so does the ability for people to skill and develop themselves. So, Primita, this one is for you. One of the problems since eternity is most of the L&D professionals, HR heads tend to get into a mindset of one size fits all, right? And organization के लिए करना पड़ता है, धंधा है. So, what's your take on that?
So, as I was sharing, right, my perspective is that you have to identify different jobs and skill for people to be successful in that mold, right? There is a new dimension to it. Earlier, we used to say we'll be successful if you have the right person in the right job. with the volatility, uncertainty, and everything that is piling up, it's also at the right time. So the dimension of time is getting added to that. So one size fits all, not really. It doesn't work that way. A few things may seem that, one size fits all will do. For example, if we talk about our famous, so to speak, quote unquote, soft skills, right? Where we'll say if we have to do a leadership skills session, if we have to do communication skills, if we have to do negotiation skills, let's get everybody together and take them through it. I am not a practitioner of that, and therefore at Hero FinCorp, we build journeys which are for people in jobs, and we don't call them soft skills. We call them social skills. And if you would even Google, as you would right now, social skills are the most sought out skills, even by the C-suite members today. It was there yesterday, and it will continue to be. The basic fact is corporates succeed because of teams. They don't succeed because of individuals. And the main thing for us to skill people is on how to be effective in teams. That begins with a mindset, and then that begins with a lot of actions. And those actions are trained behaviors. Those actions don't happen on their own. That is skilling. So one size doesn't really fit all, while the dimension will be of social skills, but even in there, you skill individuals to succeed in jobs. A very small example. We are a lending organization, and in lending, there are two parts of the business which are very important. First, you lend the money and then you collect the money, right? Collection is very, very important. You give money as you're giving your own money, and then you collect money as you are collecting your own money. So when we had to train our staff members in social skills in collections, we had designed a specific module for them in terms of stakeholder management, how they'll manage agencies, how they'll negotiate with agencies, how they will influence staff of collection agencies, how they will understand and work with internal stakeholders. So back to you, brilliant, but one size doesn't really fit all.
Thank you. And it reminds me, hard skills, soft skills, semi-soft skills, hard skills, social skills. नाम बदलने से क्या ही हो जाएगा? A gulab by any other name is still a rose, right? शेक्सपियर भाई साहब ने बोला था. So, interesting ideas and concepts coming in. Before we move on to the next question, anyone has a question to the panel? Quick one. Yes. May I have the mic, please? You can speak from there. I hope we can hear you. This is the true essence of what should happen. HR, L&D should reach out to the skilling needs and ensure that skill gap is filled at the right time, appropriately.
Thanks. So as a smaller team, one of the challenges we face is from the point of the one size fits all, right? Do we get started, or do we wait for the right custom solution for the right person to actually get started and delay that journey? So when you're faced with that choice, which one do you really go with, and how do you tackle that?
That's a brilliant question, and thanks for bringing that up. So when any organization set up, you set up an organization, typically what are the very key role which you feel like CEO is the most critical role which you think, and that plays a vital decision making ability to drive your organization into the next step. So can I ask you, can we hire 70 CEOs in one organization and solve all the problems? Why we need any other folks in the team? Let's hire 70 CEOs and create a CEO team. And they said, why we need HR? Why we need IT? Why we need business? 70 CEOs manage everything. And it could be a $70 million, billion-dollar company. So coming with that point, one size fits other in all the buckets. From outside world, it could be, but when you step into the problem statement and the water, you need specialized people to manage specialized problems. So the CEO manages a business problem, a HR leader manage a people problem, a facility leader will manage the facility problem. So those all collectively comes to the organization goal, which we can say like a one size or a one goal which we were driving to reach the success. But from a skill standpoint, we can't fit every bucket and every individual into one particular role to make the organization successful. I think you can add.
Thanks, Digwan. So just adding to what my fellow colleagues said here, my take on what you asked, whether you should wait for the perfect solution. World is turning agile, so should all the practitioners. You improvise, you implement, you improvise. When you have to deliver with speed, you do not fear mistakes. However, you should fear the same mistake done over and over again. That should not be the case, but you don't fear mistakes. You do not wait for the perfect solution. You implement, you improvise, you implement, you improvise. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that fantastic question, and thanks for the responses. And I'm sure there are a lot of questions, but as I said, pizza delivery will happen in 30 minutes, but this panel only got a limited time. Before we end this session, Digwanta and Primita, as individuals, forget about the organizations, how have you invested in your skills to reach to the level of excellence in your organizations during the last 2 to 3 years?
I think like very fundamental point is like keep investing, like learning from the environment. Like today, even the question which you asked when I met few of the fellow colleagues in a coffee table, or like we are exchanging thoughts before the discussion and all. So that's a learning. I'm also keeping notes, to be honest. Like right now, I don't have my notepad, but I'm keep taking notes to learn. And that's why, like, particularly a basic step is like learn from your environment, learn from the smallest and the smallest thing which is there, like how to make that learning used in some of the other way to make it as a perfect individual. So that's, to be honest, my goal in life, and I try to keep implement that.
Thank you. Over to Primita.
Thanks, brilliant. On skilling one's own self, my mantra is always challenging the status quo, including challenging my own ideas. What you thought is a great product you implemented yesterday may not be relevant for the future. Can you challenge your own thinking all the time to say, does it remain relevant? Similarly, challenge your own self to say, am I relevant? Relevance is the moot point for me as an individual, and whatever it takes to remain relevant, if it means learning new skills, if it means changing behaviors, if it means learning a new language, so be it. Whatever it takes to remain relevant to the business objective, deliver to the larger agenda. For me, this is really the key.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if we look at what the pandemic has done to us, right, we had to revisit the concepts of skilling, reskilling, upskilling, so many terms. End of it, what it says is you need to stay relevant. And I love the point that Premita made about implement, improvise, implement, improvise. And that's the best way to stay sane. Of course, in a world there is chaos and people are always asking, मैंने ये किया, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? And we get in the trap of उसकी साड़ी से मेरी साड़ी सफेद कैसे, मेरे घर पे टाइड नहीं है. So you tend to get to follow what the other is doing without understanding, is that what you really need? So knowing the need is very important. And I would like to bring here my friend Ranchod Singh Chachad or Funsuk Wangdu, who said, Kabil bano, Kamiyabi, ... Right? That ... is what you need to fill in. And thank you, panel members Premita and Digwanta, for the wonderful insights that you have brought into this session today. We are available for some time if any of you need to reach out to the panel members, ask questions, get some ideas on what you can implement in your organizations. I'm sure I'm speaking on their behalf, taking that liberty to say they will be available for you. And as we conclude this panel on skilling for excellence perspectives and challenges from ETHR World Future Skills Conference, after a long time in person, as he said, a first conference happening. We are all excited. There's a lot in store for all of us, HR professionals, L&D professionals, HR leaders, and of course, any contributor who's willing to go that extra mile and bring excellence. Wishing all of you good luck. The time says it's 56 seconds till we end. We can take that one last question. Over to you.
And that was contagious learning. She stepped up and now you stepped up. So I have a question about excellence versus experimentation, because I see that the panel concluded on a very different term which was let's improvise, let's implement, improvise. And the tenet of excellence is practice, practice, practice. You keep doing the same thing again and again, like Martina Navratilova used to do. And we are in a world where we don't have time for practice because we are constantly improvising. So how do we resolve that dilemma in our heads as L&D people?
So, thanks. Beautiful question, beautiful perspective. Like I said, that your challenge will help us also gain insights, right? Practice by not changing inputs is not going to result in experience. Practice has to result in experience. And only when you change the inputs, you change the outputs. So I do see both the things joined at the hip in that sense. You have to be able to improvise your game you practice, but you don't practice the same shot as you did last time, which actually got the ball outside the court rather than it dropping within the court, right? And that's what coaches help us to do. That is what our fellow members help us to do. And we should always seek for help. A learner, the strength of a learner is that he or she is going to ask for help. And then you practice, and then you improvise. And then you achieve excellence with experimentation. Thank you.
So reminded me of Vidya Balan, who said entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. So practice, practice, practice. But here the slight change that Premita brought in is practice, review, adapt, and then practice. So that is what will help you be there. Thank you so much for being here with this session immediately after lunch. I know it's tough, but you were wonderful. Thank you for all those who asked this question. A big round of applause for the panel members, Digwanta and Premita.